Isabella, what happened? My daughter hasn't been like herself lately, even though she recently started working at her ideal firm. She simply responds as nothing whenever I inquire. However, she returned home just half an hour after leaving today for whatever reason, and there was a ridiculous note on her back. I made the decision to visit her as soon as I saw it. Normally, I'm cool and collected, but this time I couldn't help myself. As a result, I was up against Samuel, the exact person who had hurt Isabella so much. Thomas is my name. Isabella joined me in celebrating my 44th birthday. Isabella was born the year after my wife and I were married 30 years ago. Unfortunately, my wife died shortly after giving birth. I couldn't raise a child by myself at the time because I was just 22 and just began my profession. In order to balance work and parenthood, I raised Isabella with assistance from my parents and in-laws. As she grew older, things became easier, but there were challenges associated with not having a mother. This April, however, Isabella began her adult life. Even though she is only 22, she appears to be very mature for her age. To compensate for her mother's absence, she must have put forth extra effort. Part of me wishes she could have just enjoyed being a child, but I'm proud of her. But right now, I'm not sure what I can do to help her. I have simply been following the current. Nevertheless, I'm happy living with Isabella. My favorite thing to do is have meals with her. There's only one thing that keeps coming to mind. She has frequently appeared depressed ever since she began working. No, I'm fine. Did something happen? Simply exhausted. I understand. After that, take a nap. Her responses are evasive even when I inquire. Since I had nothing else to do, I let her sleep. Her look kept growing deeper, and I thought that with time she would feel better. On her days off, she used to play tennis, but these days she just stays home. In the afternoon she rises, has lunch, and immediately returns to her room. It was obvious that something was amiss. However, I couldn't make her talk if she didn't want to. So with a heavy heart, I continued to live my life as usual. Isabella abruptly declared one day that she wanted to change occupations. I believe I want to switch careers. I don't believe I'm cut out for this one. Is that what's been bothering you lately? Yes, it's not the business I had anticipated, so I've been considering giving up. She must have been under a lot of stress because she hadn't even been there for a year. However, leaving college so soon could have an impact on her future career. Are you certain that someone else would hire you even if you leave right now? You know that, don't you? Yeah, you do. But still, Isabella heard my words and was at a loss for what to say. I think you should do whatever you believe is best. It's your life. Just be sure you won't regret it. You're right. I'll think about it some more. Thanks, Dad. Later, I kept wondering if I said the right thing. But no matter how much I thought about it, there was no clear answer. It was up to Isabella now. 2 weeks later, Isabella still looked down as she left for work. I was getting ready to leave myself when she came home just 30 minutes after leaving. Something had definitely happened. I asked what happened. She replied like always, "It's nothing." The words she gave in return were the same as always. But today Isabella seemed different. Even when I asked her what was wrong, she said nothing, keeping her lips tightly pressed together, refusing to speak. I decided to take the day off. Are you feeling sick? Then go rest in your room. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dad. At first, I didn't understand what she meant, but when I saw her heading to her room, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was a piece of paper about the size of printer paper taped to her back. I quickly pulled it off and read it. The message was so cruel I couldn't believe it. You are not needed in this company. Just get out already. What's this? It was so shocking. I read it out loud. Give that back. Isabella, what's going on? Who did this? Well, it was my boss. When I asked more, I learned she'd been harassed for some time. The culprit was her direct supervisor, Samuel, who was 40 years old. He's a department manager. Right after she joined, he forced extra work on her and didn't let her do the same tasks as others. When she protested, the harassment escalated. They didn't call me to meetings and I wasn't given important documents. Why would they do that? And why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't want to worry you. I'm sorry. That was the first time Isabella cried in front of me. She'd never shown tears since she was little, but I knew she must have wanted to cry all along. I held her tightly as she cried. I'm sorry I didn't notice. I'll take care of it now. You just rest. What do you mean? What are you going to do? I'm going to your company. Normally, I don't get angry or show frustration, but this time I was furious. Seeing my precious daughter hurt for such an unreasonable reason, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of frustration toward that man, Samuel. But what are you going to do there? Don't worry. Just leave it to me. With Isabella looking on in concern, I headed to her company. At reception, I asked to speak with Samuel, but of course, I was denied. My daughter works here. She suddenly said she's taking leave and I must speak to her supervisor. I see. Normally that's not allowed, but please wait a moment. Maybe because I pleaded sincerely, the receptionist went to call Samuel from the office. Sometime later, a small man wearing glasses showed up. What do you want? I'm busy, so make it quick. Samuel looked at me with a sluggish expression, his hands shoved in his pockets. I'm Isabella's father. I'd like to ask you a few things about what's been going on. Seriously? She sent her father. What kind of nerve does that take? That's unbelievable. As soon as I introduced myself as Isabella's father, Samuel burst out laughing. There was a really cruel note stuck to Isabella's back. Was that your doing? Yeah, that was me. I can't stand her. I wish she'd just quit already. Did she do something to deserve that kind of treatment? From what I've heard from Isabella, there's no reason she would be targeted like that. But then Samuel said something outrageous. She's taller than me. Okay. And she gets attention like she's some kind of model. It ticks me off. That's it? That's your reason? That's it. That's enough. It hits a nerve, and I hate it. I was stunned. He'd been harassing her just because she was taller and got attention from others. It's true Isabella is about 5'7" and has a good figure, but that's no excuse for harassment, and if that were the reason, others would fit too. Why only target Isabella? Because she looked weak. Watching her crumble was hilarious. Hearing that, I couldn't help but mutter. I see. Then I have an idea, too. You better be ready. Huh? What did you say? You and your daughter talk too quietly. Say it louder. I said be ready. You have no idea who you just picked a fight with. Samuel tilted his head in confusion. What's this? Trying to scare me now? Scare you? You bluffing? You mean you're the threat or your daughter? As Samuel taunted me with a smug expression, I glanced at him sideways and pulled out my phone. What? Calling for help? Don't say I didn't warn you when you regret it later. Regret? You think I'd ever feel that? You know who I am. After hearing those words from Samuel, I made a call to someone. The moment they answered, I switched to speaker mode. Hello, how have you been? This is Thomas. Thomas, what a surprise. What can I do for you? I'm actually at your company right now. Something's come up. When Samuel realized I was talking to Mr. Kensington, the company president, his eyes widened. He hadn't expected me to be connected to someone like him. A problem? What happened? Did one of our employees? Yes. I'd like to talk about someone named Samuel from my daughter's department. Samuel? I see. I'll head over immediately. Please wait just a moment. With that, Mr. Kensington hung up. Was that just now? You know him well, right? That was Mr. Kensington, the president of this company. We go way back. How? You're not supposed to have any connection to him. Still in disbelief, Samuel stared at me. Soon after, Mr. Kensington came running in, drenched in sweat. Sorry to keep you waiting. Did Samuel do something? You might want to hear it directly from him. Yes, of course. Samuel, would you mind explaining what happened? Mr. Kensington asked, but Samuel refused to speak. Instead, he tried to make me look like the villain. I didn't do anything. I don't even know who this guy is. He just barged in and accused me. Accused you of what? He said I harassed his daughter out of nowhere. Hearing that, Mr. Kensington glanced at me. Is that true? Everything except the part about my barging in is true. I see. I can't say for sure myself. May I speak with Isabella? It was clear Mr. Kensington wasn't sure who to believe yet, and that made sense. He needed to hear from both sides to judge fairly, but Isabella likely didn't have the strength to show up right now. Isabella's mentally and physically exhausted. I don't think she can take part in a meeting. Oh, come on. She's just running away, isn't she? Admit it's all a lie. Hey, watch your tone. Feeling safe now that Isabella wouldn't come, Samuel acted cocky even in front of Mr. Kensington. It's fine. Let him say whatever he wants. Okay, then. You've been acting all high and mighty. Who do you think you are? Some big shot. Samuel still didn't know who I really was and kept running his mouth. I wondered if he realized he couldn't back out anymore. Mr. Kensington looked worried that things might escalate. You're around 40, right? So what? Don't tell me I have to show respect just because you're older. No, not that. I just find it sad that someone that age still acts so foolish. At my words, Samuel furrowed his brow. It seemed what I had just said had struck a deep chord with him. Keep running your mouth and see what happens. Now he was visibly angry. I think you're the one who should be worried about what's coming next. What are you talking about? You probably don't know this, but I'm a major shareholder here. I'm seen to stop around Samuel. The major shareholder? Yes, I own a large portion of this company's stock and attend shareholder meetings. That can't be. I've worked the front desk at those meetings, but I've never seen your face. Apparently, Samuel had once handled reception for a shareholder meeting, but it's no surprise he wouldn't remember faces. I hadn't remembered his either. It's not strange that you don't remember, but the fact remains that I'm a major shareholder. No way. That can't be true. It's true. This man is one of our biggest investors and has done a lot for this company. Mr. Kensington's words sealed it. Samuel had no choice but to accept the truth. So what if you're a major shareholder? That has nothing to do with your daughter. I didn't do anything wrong. If you're so confident, then I'd like to request a review of the security footage and ask other employees for statements. Why should I have to go through that? Despite claiming innocence, as soon as I mentioned an investigation, sweat started pouring from Samuel's forehead. You don't want to stay under suspicion, right? Then prove your innocence. I don't think Thomas would lie, but we'll need to confirm the facts for the sake of fairness. Wait, it was me. I think I may have harassed her. At last, Samuel finally admitted to what he had done. However, I just couldn't accept such a vague and unclear explanation. What exactly do you mean by, I didn't think it was harassment? I assumed it was just a misunderstanding. Oh, and you think putting something like this on someone's back can be dismissed as a mere misunderstanding? As I said that, I pulled out the paper that had been stuck on Isabella's back. What is this? This is terrible. Did you really do this? No, you've got it all wrong.
Very well. A proper investigation will reveal the truth. Thomas will look into this thoroughly and get back to you right away.
Understood. I hope you'll handle this matter with sincerity.
And with that, I left Isabella's workplace. Just before walking away, I glanced back briefly, and I'll never forget the devastated look on Samuel's face at that moment.
Sometime later, I received a direct call from Mr. Kensington about Samuel.
It turned out just as you said. We decided to assign him to a different department away from Isabella. I sincerely apologize.
I'm glad to hear that. By the way, which department was Samuel transferred to?
Apparently, Samuel had been removed from the career track and pushed into a dead-end department. He insisted he wouldn't quit no matter what, but most people in that department end up leaving within 6 months because they can't find any sense of fulfillment. After taking a short break, Isabella eventually returned to work. It's been about a month since then, and I feel like she smiles more often now. But for Samuel, this was only the beginning of his descent into misery. In the new department, Samuel was forced to repeat the same monotonous task every day, and it gradually took a toll on both his mind and body. He couldn't accept being removed from the promotion track and repeatedly protested to Mr. Kensington, only to be shut down each time until eventually he gave up trying altogether.
Then Samuel declared that he was quitting the company. I'm done with this place. It makes no sense for someone as capable as me to be treated like this. Shouting that, he submitted his resignation letter.
After quitting, he visited many companies in search of a new job, but no one would hire him. At home, when his family asked why he had left his job, and he told them the truth, his wife took the children and left him. In the end, Samuel couldn't find a new job and has been barely scraping by on his savings, living alone in solitude, or so I heard through the grapevine. But I can say with certainty that Samuel's downfall isn't just a rumor, because recently I saw him myself. He looked like a completely different person. That day, I had gone to a casual pub with Isabella. Tonight's on me. Order whatever you like. Are you sure? Wasn't this your first bonus? Exactly. I wanted to celebrate it with you, Dad. It was just a simple pub, nothing fancy, but to me it meant more than any high-end restaurant. Isabella was smiling as she looked through the menu, her eyes darting around trying to decide what to order. But then the moment she looked up, her expression froze. H, what's wrong? That guy over there, isn't that Samuel? Hearing her words, I quickly turned around and sure enough, there he was. Samuel arguing with a staff member near the register. I didn't order this much. You're ripping me off. Call the police. He was shouting angrily, clearly upset about the bill. Very well. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Of course. I'm struggling enough as it is, and you're trying to rob me blind. The staff member then pulled out a phone and began calling the police. Before long, a patrol car arrived and the officers began questioning both of them. You have security cameras here, correct? We'll need to review the footage. Wait, cameras? What cameras? We have them in all 4 corners and 2 more in the center of the room. Samuel, who had looked so confident moments ago, suddenly went pale upon hearing that.
No one told me that. Well, then let's continue this conversation at the station. Wait, please.
Samuel tried to make excuses, but no one listened. He was taken away in the patrol car.
He hasn't changed at all, has he? No, let's not let someone like him ruin our night. After that, Isabella and I talked about many things. Is there anything you want to do next, Isabella? I guess maybe I'd like to try falling in love. Love, huh? She's already an adult after all. Some people even get married in their early 20s. The fact that she hasn't had any romantic experiences until now doesn't mean much. It wouldn't be surprising at all if she found someone. I didn't want to make you feel lonely, so I never really brought it up. I get it. I thought I was ready for this, but when the time actually comes, I don't know how to handle it. You're about to cry, aren't you? Stop it. I don't even have anyone yet. I couldn't help it. I cried in front of Isabella for the first time in a long time.
Thinking about the person she might bring home someday, I finished the last of my beer.
Someone wonderful is going to come into your life, Isabella. Of course. After all, I was raised by you, Dad. Her words made my tears flow even faster.
A gold-digging woman is not necessary for me. My family would be ashamed of you. Leave. Roy, my sister's father-in-law, yelled and flung water at her when she told him about their impending nuptials. Roy is a strong supporter of academic qualifications, and his already negative attitude worsened when he learned that my sister had completed high school. Sis, are you okay? Roy appeared more relieved than sorry, despite my panic. She appeared so sophisticated that I briefly believed she had a high level of education. But at least I preserved the honor of our family.
What are you saying, Dad? I'm sorry.
Roy was severely reprimanded by Jack for his ludicrous actions, but Roy showed no signs of regret. When I saw this, I finally snapped. This individual will be taken straight to hell by me. I had to snicker to myself after making that choice. Tom Johnson is my name. This year, I turned 33, and Kate is my only sister. I don't recall my dad's face because my mom divorced him when I was 2 years old. In order to raise my sister and me, my mother worked from dawn until night. Because of this, Kate had been helping out around the house since I was old enough to remember, even though she was only 2 years older than me. She was only a few years older than me, but I recall her being much more mature and capable of managing domestic tasks with ease. The school and my mother urged her to attend college because she was also a good student. However, just as she was ready to go in, my mother, who had been overdoing it for years, became unwell and spent a long time in the hospital. We were unable to pay for her college tuition because our primary provider was out of action and we were facing mounting medical bills. Thus, my sister decided to leave school.
She found a job soon and began working full-time. Tom, you're good at studying, so no matter what, you have to go to college.
As she worked hard to save money for my tuition, she remarked this. I took her advice to heart, worked hard in my studies, and earned a degree from a prominent public university. My mother and Kate were ecstatic, and as soon as I began making money, I made every effort to ensure their comfort. I felt like I had finally made up for everything when I saw my mother smile more frequently. My sister and I continued to support one another even after my mother went away. Despite living apart, we got together twice a month to keep up.
Kate revealed some startling information one day.
I'm actually in a relationship with someone, and we're considering getting married. I think you'll like him too, since he's a very wonderful man. Tom, what? You're getting married? I had no idea she had a boyfriend, so I was completely caught off guard. But it made sense. Someone as wonderful as her would naturally find a partner, and the thought of her finding someone she loves made me incredibly happy.
I got so excited that I couldn't help myself.
Where are you planning to have the wedding? And should I give a speech? Oh man, what should I say?
You're getting ahead of yourself. When she stopped me, I snapped back to reality and felt embarrassed. Oh, right. I haven't even met the guy yet. Exactly, Tom. You've always been a bit impatient. I'll introduce you to him soon. She laughed softly like a caring mother, and I couldn't help but laugh along with her. Anyway, it was really great that she was about to take her first step toward her happiness. I decided to support her with all my might. But little did I know this would be the beginning of a tough journey. The day finally came to meet Kate's boyfriend. I arrived at the cafe where we were supposed to meet 20 minutes early. I left home early to avoid being late on such an important day, but I guess I was too early. Should I wait inside the cafe? Just as I muttered that, I heard a man's angry voice. Hey! Get out of the way! Oh, I'm sorry. I quickly stepped aside to see a burly man standing there with a scowl on his face. Geez, don't stand right in the middle of the door. The man went into the store, but something about the encounter bothered me. I wasn't standing right in front of the door. I was next to the utility pole on the side of the store. It's hard to believe I was in anyone's way. In fact, the man was walking at a distance from me, and he could have easily entered the store without me moving at all. Why did he bother complaining to me? As I was pondering this strange encounter, I suddenly heard my sister's voice. See? I told you it was a good idea to arrive 20 minutes early. I turned around in surprise to see Kate walking alongside a kindly-looking man. Isn't my intuition amazing? Tom always gets overly excited and arrives way too early for important occasions. Wow, that's impressive. The family bond is something else. The man seemed genuinely impressed, but when our eyes met, he suddenly snapped back to reality. I'm so sorry for the sudden introduction. My name is Jack Wilson, and I'm in a serious relationship with Kate. Seeing him bow his head apologetically, I felt a sense of goodwill toward him. He didn't try to put on any airs. He seemed very genuine. And just from the brief interaction, it was clear that she completely trusted him. In fact, she was beaming with a smile that could light up a room, looking incredibly happy. I thought to myself, she really has found a good person. I am Tom, Kate's brother. I'm glad that I could meet you today. I had a feeling that you and Jack would get along well. I'm so happy to see you hitting it off. Kate smiled as she said that, and we all entered the cafe to formally introduce ourselves. But just then, I heard a voice I recognized from a few minutes earlier. Oh, I can't stand this. I looked over to see the same man from before walking out of the store. I wanted to treat myself, but they don't have anything I want to eat. He was grumbling loudly about something trivial. As I was thinking how troublesome it was to run into him again, the man suddenly glared at Jack. Hey, isn't that the ungrateful brat who ran away from home? I don't want to see your face. Get lost. His outrageous attitude was shocking, and I felt a surge of discomfort. Jack's face tensed up, and it was clear he wanted nothing to do with the man. I never want to see your face again, so don't you dare come back. With that, the man stormed off, still shouting. Was that man your father, Jack? He mentioned something about being ungrateful. Unfortunately, yes. There's a lot to it. If you don't mind, could I explain over some tea? Sensing there was more to the story, we decided to go inside the cafe to talk. Jack is 1 year older than me. At 34 years old, he started a startup with some friends when he was 30, and now he's serving as an executive. That's impressive for someone so young. No, when we started the company, there were so few employees that I just ended up in an executive position by default. Jack was modest about it. But with a new venture, there's no telling how things will go. Just because he's an executive doesn't mean he can sit back and relax. It must be a challenge every day. Then he began to talk about his father. His father's name is Roy Wilson,
And at 58 years old, he's the president of a bank. Apparently, despite everything, he's competent at his job. My dad had been drinking earlier. When he drinks, he becomes uncontrollable like that. So he never drinks on work days. But he loves alcohol, so on his days off, he ends up like that.
Jack spoke with a look of deep gloom. If my parent had such a bad drinking habit, I'd hate it too. It sounds like you've had a tough time dealing with your father.
Oh no, Tom. It's nothing compared to what you and Kate have been through. My dad didn't approve of me starting a venture company either. He told me that if I chose a startup, I should never come back, and we've been estranged for years, Jack said. According to Jack, Roy truly believes that those who attend prestigious universities, enter large corporations, and climb the corporate ladder are the highest caliber of people. Because of this, Jack was pushed to study hard from a young age, and Roy decided all of his schools. When it came time to get a job, Roy didn't allow anything other than a large corporation. Starting a risky business was out of the question. Jack's mother passed away when he was 5, leaving no one to intervene.
After saying all this, Jack let out a deep sigh.
I felt a strong sense of doubt about living a life controlled by my dad. So when I turned 30, I wanted to finally live according to my own will. But no matter how much I tried to explain, my dad just wouldn't understand and now sees me as a traitor. Roy seems like a real handful. But ever since Jack started his own company, he completely cut ties with Roy and hasn't been back home even once. Even today, they only ran into each other by chance, and it seems like Jack has no intention of getting involved with him again.
In that case, Roy probably won't cause any more trouble for Kate, so I felt somewhat relieved.
After that, we switched topics, had a lively conversation for about an hour, and decided to call it a day. We were able to get along, but it was still just the first day we met. As the brother of his girlfriend, I figured he might be feeling some pressure, and it would be rude to keep him around for too long.
Please continue to support my sister Kate. Sure, we will support each other.
We exchanged cheerful greetings in front of the store and were about to go our separate ways, but just then Roy showed up again.
Hey, Jack. Why is he coming back after he already left? As I was thinking that, Roy started spouting nonsense.
That guy and girl next to Jack, they're not part of your startup, are they? You've dragged my son down a bad path. I'm just an acquaintance of Jack, not a business partner. I tried to explain and distance myself, but Roy wouldn't back down. Then how do you know him? You were just talking for a while in the cafe, weren't you? You're more than just acquaintances.
At that moment, Kate stepped forward.
I'm in a serious relationship with Jack, and we're considering marriage. This is my brother. Is there a problem? She spoke calmly, but you could tell just by looking at her eyes that she was furious. Jack clearly values his colleagues at work, so Roy's comments must have hurt him deeply. In fact, he was glaring at Roy with a look of deep pain. Kate couldn't stand it and raised her voice in anger on his behalf. This had turned into an awful introduction for their marriage. Roy then gave Kate a long, scrutinizing look and asked, "So what university did you graduate from?" "I only have a high school diploma. I had to drop out of college due to family circumstances." Kate said this clearly. Roy pursed his lips, furrowed his brow, and made a thoroughly displeased face. "So because I'm a bank president, you thought you could just marry for money, huh? All high school graduates must be like that." With those rude remarks, Roy suddenly ran off somewhere at full speed. It's clear he's obsessed with academic credentials, and knowing Kate only graduated from high school clearly didn't sit well with him.
But why did he run off? Was he so angry that he decided to leave?
As these questions swirled in my mind, Roy reached the vending machine. He bought a bottle of water and started coming back. I was more confused than ever about what he was planning. Then Roy unscrewed the bottle cap and threw the water all over my sister out of nowhere. Her makeup, which she had clearly put more effort into today, and her brand new clothes were soaked, leaving her in a pitiful state. But Roy showed no remorse.
"I don't need a gold-digging woman. You're a disgrace to my family. Get out! And with that, he hurled yet another insult. Kate, are you okay? Even as I panicked, Roy looked more relieved and apologetic. Because she looked so refined, I thought she was highly educated at first. But at least I protected our family's honor. Hey, Dad, what are you saying? Apologize. Jack seriously scolded Roy, but it had no effect. Seeing this, I finally lost my temper. I'm going to drag this man straight to hell. With that decision made, I couldn't help but smirk to myself. Hey, which bank are you the president of? Before I knew it, those words slipped out of my mouth. Apparently, Roy found that incredibly offensive. You, who do you think you're talking to? I'm the head of a major bank, you know, he retorted, puffing himself up like a tyrant in a very unbecoming manner. I managed to suppress my boiling anger and press him further. Your rudeness got to me, and my tone became harsh. Can you just answer my question honestly? Sensing something off in my demeanor, Roy's face froze slightly, though he still tried to maintain his arrogance. So what if I did? It's that bank right over there. He angrily pointed to the sign of a local bank. I knew it. I had a feeling there was some mistake. I glared at Roy with all the fury I could muster, but Roy seemed to think I was bluffing. Hey, stop talking nonsense. You're just trying to shake me up with your big talk. No. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I shook my head and handed him my business card. My name is Tom Johnson. You must be familiar with it, right? In the next moment, Roy's face turned pale. Really? You're the Tom Johnson? That's right. I have an account at your bank. Now, knowing my true identity, Roy turned even paler. The truth is, I'm the CEO of a rapidly growing company. I've deposited a massive amount of money in Roy's bank, and I've been a valued customer for some time. I know your face and name, Roy, as the head of the bank, but your attitude was so different from what I've seen before that I considered the possibility you were someone else. That's why I asked for the bank's name, to confirm your identity. No, this is a terrible mistake. Roy started bowing repeatedly, but it was already too late. I can't trust a bank with someone like you in charge. I'll be moving all the funds from our corporate account to another bank, my personal account too. Wait, we're talking about a sum exceeding millions of dollars. Roy clung to me, crying out in desperation, but I didn't feel even the slightest bit of sympathy. It's absurd to forget the face of an important client. You must have a habit of looking down on people. No, absolutely not. Roy frantically shook his head in denial. I didn't forget your face. I just didn't recognize you because you looked different. Today, since I was meeting Kate's boyfriend, I had taken off my usual glasses, slicked my hair back, and dressed in my most stylish outfit. To a casual acquaintance, it might indeed be hard to recognize me. If it were just a casual acquaintance, I might not have noticed. As I was quietly coming to terms with the situation on my own, Roy kept trying to make excuses. And besides, I would never look down on my customers. I always treat them with my utmost respect. But Jack suddenly spoke up with force. That's a lie, Dad. You were always bad-mouthing clients at home, weren't you? That's not true, Jack. Roy tried to argue back, but it was clear he was panicking. I believe what Jack says. In any case, I can't trust a bank president who casually throws insults around. I'll be transferring my money now. With that cold statement, I turned and walked away. Kate and Jack followed me, both giving Roy a sharp glare before leaving. Hey, wait! Roy tried to chase after us, but he stumbled and fell hard. Oh no! Ouch! I heard a scream, but I didn't feel like dealing with it, so I ignored it and went home. Since then, Kate and Jack's relationship has been going well, and I've been meeting with them regularly. It seems they'll be submitting their marriage license soon, and I'm feeling quite excited about it too. One day, however, Roy showed up at my office. He was making a scene at the reception, insisting that he had to speak with the president. So I reluctantly agreed to meet him. When I entered the meeting room, there was Roy, dressed sharply in a suit with a serious expression on his face, a stark contrast to his previous behavior. Actually, I was wondering if he could return the money to our bank. As I had declared,
I had already moved all my money to another bank and had stopped doing business with Roy's bank a long time ago. I had told the bank everything as it was, and Roy's misconduct was exposed, leading to his downfall. Honestly, I thought it was his own fault, but it seemed Roy was desperate to regain his lost position. Please, if you could just forgive me. The bank might ease up a bit. That way, I might be able to regain my position as the president. There's no way that's going to happen. What you did was wrong, plain and simple. Someone like you dreaming of reclaiming your position is just ridiculous. I answered, trying hard to suppress my irritation. Besides, I heard someone filmed you making a scene yesterday, and it's caused quite a stir at the bank. That cafe was in a secluded spot, but causing such a commotion in broad daylight was bound to catch someone's attention. Apparently, one of the passers-by recorded a video and took it to the bank. With that evidence, the bank had no choice but to acknowledge the incident, and Roy was immediately fired. The smooth transition of my funds was also thanks to that video, which made the bank realize they couldn't keep someone like Roy as a president. Despite causing so much trouble for others, you haven't shown any remorse. In fact, you haven't even formally apologized to me, though your employees did apologize on your behalf. My tone turned a bit harsh, but I felt no guilt towards Roy. After all, as soon as his firing was finalized, he cut off all communication. One of his employees explained the situation and offered a sincere apology. I'm terribly sorry. That's why I didn't hold a grudge against the bank. However, the fact that Roy, the one responsible, never apologized still bothers me. When I press him on it, Roy began to sweat nervously. Well, losing my position was a huge shock, and I've been moving from one hotel to another. I think the shock was much greater for me, Kate, and Jack. If you had the energy to stay in hotels, you should have done what needed to be done. And it's clear now that you have no intention of apologizing. You should leave. I spoke quickly, standing up from my chair. Wait a minute. But Roy tried to speak again. I'll call the police. At that, Roy froze. I'm sorry. He finally muttered an apology and hurried out as if fleeing. I felt relieved, thinking I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. A month later, I was on a trip with Kate and Jack. The wedding plans were progressing smoothly, and Jack and I had become quite close. I happened to get a 3-day break, so we decided to take a trip together. By the way, Roy hadn't shown up in the past month and hadn't contacted Kate or Jack, so it seemed the crisis had passed. Maybe he had completely given up on reconnecting with us. Our destination was a church that had recently become popular, known for a legend that couples who prayed there would be happy for life. After leaving the airport, we stopped by the hotel to drop off our luggage and then headed straight to the church. The church was even more impressive than it looked in the guidebook, and it seemed like it could really bring good fortune. A sign in the courtyard mentioned that it not only strengthened bonds between couples, but also improved relationships with family and friends. I decided to pray for a better relationship with Kate and Jack. After we finished praying, she suggested we visit the souvenir shop. Let's buy some kings of souvenirs. We were looking at an array of kings. Just then, I heard a gasp. What? Wondering what was going on, I looked in the direction of the voice, and to my shock, saw Roy standing there. What are you doing here? Did you follow us or something? Not wanting him to get near Kate and Jack, I stepped in front of them and moved toward him. But Roy shook his head frantically. I'm not here for anything like that. I came here for someone I care about. Don't tell me you're thinking of reconnecting with Jack. As I glared at Roy, his eyes narrowed into a sharp glare. Hey, don't start spouting assumptions. If it were up to me, I'd want to keep a kid who ignores their parents' wishes as far away as possible. Jack looked hurt, but Roy continued without a care. Hey, Jack, are you still seeing that high school graduate? If you marry a woman like that, you'll end up miserable. Even Jack couldn't stay silent at this. We're already estranged, aren't we? So what does it matter what degree my wife has? It has nothing to do with you. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp as he retorted. You're just trying to hurt your son. You don't care about my future at all. So keep your opinions to yourself and stay out of it. What did you say? Roy was about to explode in anger, but I stepped in to stop him. Well, This is in public, so let's stop arguing. Sure enough, people around us were looking over with concern. Roy looked embarrassed when he noticed this and calmed down. With that, he slowly walked away from us. Jack and I both reflected on how we had let things get too heated, bought some Kings, and left the shop. But just as we were about to leave, we saw Roy pacing nervously near the entrance of the shop. When he noticed us, he glared in our direction. Ugh, why do we keep running into each other? Are you two following me or something? No, we're just leaving the shop. And by the way, you spoke politely last time we met, but now you're using rough words. Well, since I can't suck up to the bank president anymore, there's no point in pretending. I prefer to keep things simple. What, you cold-hearted man? I was glad I didn't stick up for him anyway. Nothing good would come from dealing with Roy any further. Just as we were about to head to the next sightseeing spot, Roy suddenly broke into a big smile and started waving. Hey there. Ahead of him stood a middle-aged woman with garish makeup. She looked about 10 years younger than Roy. This here is Emma, my new girlfriend. I was trying to buy a keyring for her ahead of time, but you two ruined it. Now, shoo. After bragging, Roy tried to chase us away. We had no interest in sticking around with Roy any longer either. We silently walked away, agreeing that it was a good decision to cut ties with someone like him, and headed to a scenic observation deck. After enjoying the beautiful mountain views and sunset from the deck, we had a delicious meal at a restaurant known for its mountain cuisine. By the time we finished, it was late at night, and we had a great time without any more run-ins with Roy. We decided to head back to the hotel for a soak in the outdoor pool and some rest, but on the way, we got lost. This area still had many old narrow alleys, and we had heard it was easy to get lost, which turned out to be true. It was a region where more and more houses were being abandoned, and there was a lonely atmosphere in the air. As I was thinking we shouldn't have tried to take a shortcut, I suddenly heard a woman's shrill voice. Hey, what do you mean by that? Yeah, take responsibility. Another woman's voice joined in, and I started to worry that something serious was happening. Let's go check it out. We might need to call the cops. Jack took off running, and I followed closely behind. We found 3 figures arguing in a deserted alley. Wait a minute. A man with a weak voice was being scolded by 2 women. But then we recognized a man. It was Roy. Even in the dim streetlight, there was no mistaking him. Since we were in the same area, the chances of running into him weren't 0. But still, meeting someone twice like this must be a pretty rare coincidence. Is this what they call a cursed relationship? By the way, one of the women is a person named Emma, whom I met at the shop, but I have no idea who the other woman is. I guess there was some trouble with that woman while Emma and Roy were on a date. That's probably what happened. As I was thinking that, Roy noticed us too and came running over, begging for help. Please help me. Just the other day, he treated me with such contempt. But now that he's in trouble, he's asking for help. What a quick change of heart. I was completely disgusted. Kate and Jack were also visibly annoyed the moment they realized it was Roy. On the other hand, Roy, who was clearly panicking, started rambling on about the situation, not caring at all about how we felt. Actually, while I was on a date with Emma, a woman I didn't know suddenly started causing trouble. But the woman who was supposedly unknown was now glaring at Roy with a furious expression. Don't make me the bad guy here. I'm Julie, we're dating, remember? So what you're saying is that Roy was cheating? When I summarized the situation, both Julie and Emma spoke in unison. Exactly, according to their intense stories that followed. It seems Roy had planned to meet both Emma and Julie during this trip. He had planned to spend the first day with Emma and the second day with Julie. To be precise, Emma had something to do the next day, so she was supposed to go home after the first night. Then Roy would stay at the hotel with Julie and continue the trip on the second day. The reason for such a risky plan was that Roy wanted to travel with 2 women he liked at the same tourist spot, but found it too troublesome to come back to the same place multiple times. However, as fate would have it, while Roy and Emma were lost, Julie came to the hotel to look for Roy. As a result, his cheating was exposed. The 2 women, who were getting more and more heated, started showing a series of evidence like messages from a chat app, so their claims were probably true. Roy, now unable to talk his way out of it, was visibly shaken. Well, that is, Then Jack piled on. Cheating is seriously the worst. You're in no position to criticize others' academic backgrounds. You might have an impressive education, but you're lacking in what really matters as a human being. Maybe you should go back and learn that. Kate also delivered a sharp comment, so I decided to speak my mind as well. You had the nerve to put others down, but now that you're cornered, you come asking for help. That's just pathetic. No decent person would do that. With my voice carrying a deep, resonant tone, Roy tried to mutter some more excuses. Oh, by the way, have you really reflected on the harm you caused Kate and Jack? If not, maybe I'll chase you all the way to the depths of hell. Cutting him off mid-sentence, I said this, and it must have scared him quite a bit, because Roy finally lowered his head. I'm sorry. I promise I won't bother you again. Don't forget that promise. If you break it. As I glared at him intensely, Roy finally fell back in terror. I won't break it. With his pitiful cries ringing in our ears, Kate Jack, and I decided to leave, satisfied with his groveling. Afterward, Roy continued to be berated by the two women, but by then I didn't care anymore. Let Roy's fate be what it may. Thinking this, we found the right path and safely arrived at the hotel. We relaxed in the outdoor pool under a sky full of stars. What happened to Roy after that? I don't know for sure. I've heard rumors that he was relentlessly chased down by those two women, even forced to move, and that the stress drove him further into alcoholism. Whatever the truth, with his personality, it's certain he didn't find happiness. As for me, I'm still working hard running my business. Kate and Jack had their wedding and officially registered their marriage. Now they're happily building a life together as a married couple. Seeing these two, who've been through so much, finally find happiness makes me happy too. I want to do whatever I can to keep them happy. That's what I'm thinking about today as I keep moving forward.